Hello students, welcome to the digital signal processing. Today we are going to learn what is FIR filters. So F means it is nothing but finite, I it is impulse, and R refers to response. So finite impulse response filters are nothing but the FIR filters. Generally these are non-recursive. What exactly the non-recursive means? Let's say X is the input, this is what, let's say, the output. When we take feedback from the output to the input side, that is called as a recursive. But the FIR filters are showing the non-recursive kind of nature, means the feedback is almost not possible in this case, but it is able to design even the IR filters from the FIR filters, means recursive type of filters with the help of the FIR filters. Now let's proceed for identifying some of the advantages. Why to go for the FIR filters? The very first reason is they are showing the linear phase. So when we say linear phase, what exactly it means? So linear phase means whatever the shape of the input signal, when it applied to the filter, the same shape will be maintained at the output without any disturbance, like this. If this is what we are getting, we will say it is not in phase with the input. So this is in phase with the input. So shape of the input signal will be maintained even if it passed through the filter circuitry. That is what the meaning of linear phase response. Second characteristics or other advantage is nothing but they are always stable. Now why it is called as a stable, that we will see with the example. Like let's say when we discuss for the causal system. So for causal system, the obvious reason is when the system is to be said as a causal, it is h of n is equal to 0 for n less than 0. That is what the simple condition means. This is to be satisfied for any system to say as a causal. Similarly, when we discuss it for the stability of the system means it is summation. It is n is equal to minus infinity to plus infinity mod of h of n. It must be less than infinity. So it is nothing but the condition for the stability. So same can be sometimes referred as a bounded input, bounded output. So BIBO system. So for any bounded input, if I am getting the bounded output, I will say that system as a stable system. So FIR filters are inherently stable, or sometimes called as a always stable. Next is nothing but they are showing the non-recursive nature. So non-recursive means what? That already we have seen. Next advantage which we can mention is nothing but excellent design methods can be available for various kinds of FIR filter. So excellent design methods for various FIR filters. But along with this, these are also having some of the disadvantages. So what are these disadvantages? Let's summarize it. So the disadvantage are quite simple one to understand. So if someone want to go for, let's say, the narrow band FIR filter design, so for narrow band FIR filter, it is very costly. So that is the very first disadvantage. Second is nothing but actually the requirement of the memory. So large memory will be required to store some of the complex operations as well as the data from resulting from that complex operation. That's why these two are the major disadvantages for the FIR filter design. Now let's proceed to analyze it in terms of the why it is not possible to go for the ideal filters realization. So when we say ideal filter realization or design, so ideal filters cannot be designed or practically realizable. Why it is So because these filters are non-causal in nature, non-causal. So for non-causal or anti-causal nature, we are simply saying that if, let's say, this is what the waveform we will have. So for this waveform, if there is a existence of, let's say, these are the some of the samples for n, and this is, let's say, h of n. When it is causal, existence is only towards the right hand side, but when it is anti-causal, we will say that some of the sample values are existing for less than 0 values also, means at this part also it is existing. So this is nothing but actually called as a non-causal. So since ideal filters are non-causal, that's why they are not able to realize or practically not possible to implement it. So that is what one of the reason. When we understand it in terms of, let's say, the h of n derived from, let's say, for low pass filter. So for the low pass filter, if it is ideal low pass filter, let's say this is what ideal low pass filter. I will just plot here the ideal low pass filter response. This is what ideal low pass filter. So if you say that this is nothing but, let's say, mod of h of omega, so this is mod of h of omega versus omega. So this region is nothing but the pass band, and afterwards at this point it will be nothing but the omega c, and rest of the band is nothing but the stop band. If we extend it, let's say, at the negative side also, this is becoming the ideal low pass filter. So minus omega c to plus omega c, that is what its range. This is the 0 value, and let's assume the amplitude is 1. So this entire band is nothing but right now acting as a pass band. So for the ideal filter, specifically the low pass filter, by looking at this particular graph, we can simply identify the condition for h of omega. H of omega will show the value 1 when the frequency is ranging from, let's say, minus omega c to plus omega c. This is what the range of the frequency. Similarly, when we want to write it for the value 0, so it will be 0 for else, or we may write it for the other conditions, means for minus omega c less than this particular region and greater than omega c, it is 0. So that is what the simple idea behind this, writing an equation for h of omega. But right now we do have the availability of h of omega, and how to write the h of n from the h of omega. It means this is nothing but our frequency domain response. Now we need to take here the inverse Fourier. Now since it is in frequency domain nature, and if I want to obtain, let's say, h of n from h of omega, I need to take the inverse Fourier for this h of omega so as to get the h of n, because our ultimate decision that whether the filter is stable or not stable, causal or not causal, that is depending on value of h of n. So based on this response, we have derived the h of omega. Let's say inverse Fourier for this will be h of n. It will be for the entire cycle, so 1 upon 2 pi. Range of the frequencies right now it is minus omega c to plus omega c. So in general it is written like minus pi to plus pi. Let me write the in general, because the range of these frequencies will be 0 to 2 pi. So h of omega, this is e raised to j omega n t omega. This is what the expression. Now to solve it in terms of, let's say, the values which are available with us, so it can be simply solved like h of n is equal to 1 upon 2 pi minus pi to plus pi. Here the frequencies can be replaced simply, minus omega c to plus omega c. H of omega is 1 in between this range, so it will be 1. This is e raised to j omega n d omega. That is, let's say, one of the equation which we got. Now after this equation we can just summarize what exactly the value for h of n when n is 0 and n is not equal to 0. So let's apply first of all for h of n when n is 0. So let me write it here. So for the first condition, when n is 0, what is happening to this equation? Put n equal to 0. So h of n is equal to, n is 0 means this e raised to 0 will be 1. So 1 d omega, integral of 1, that is with respect to omega, that is nothing but omega. So this will be omega minus omega c to plus omega c. Obviously 1 upon 2 pi will be there. So by solving it, it will become 1 upon 2 pi omega c plus omega c, means 2 omega c. So this will be cancelled. So omega c by pi, that is what the value. So this will be nothing but omega c by pi. Now this is for n equal to 0 condition, when h of n is equal to omega c by pi. Now let's understand the same things for n not equal to 0. So if this is what the equation available for n not equal to 0, let me write it here. Okay, n not equal to 0 condition, let's say it is nothing but the case number 2. So for this condition, h of n will be equal to let's adjust it. Okay, h of n is equal to 1 upon 2 pi. The integral will be taken, so with respect to omega. So that means this time we need to take the integral for this e raised to j omega n with respect to omega. So it will be e raised to j omega n by nj. So once this is done, this is what the equation which we expect. So 1 upon 2 pi, let's say it is j, and n will be taken outside. This will be nothing but e raised to j omega cn minus e raised to minus j omega cn. Now after this equation, let's readjust. This 2j can be taken inside. So after this, so it will be readjusted like this. So what is this? This is nothing but e raised to j theta minus e raised to minus j theta by 2j. So what is it? It is nothing but sine theta. So for this, or e raised to theta minus e raised to minus j theta by 2j is nothing but the sine theta. So by writing it, it will be 1 upon n pi. Theta is nothing but here the case, that is omega c n. Okay, so this is nothing but the theta. So write it like sine omega c n. So this is how h of n which we are getting, that is 1 upon n pi sine omega c n. Now this will clearly give the idea that if someone want to, let's say, plot the response for this cutoff frequency of pi by 4, he will get the response like some part for h of n, some part of h of n at the negative side also, and few at the positive side also. So this will indicate that if there are some of the sample values for n less than 0, we will say that it is not able to realize. So that is all about the FIR filter introduction. In the next lecture we will see some of the properties of FIR filter as well as the windowing technique to understand the FIR filter. Thank you everyone. Thank you very much.